how do you fix the blame game? We know scientifically that even type 2 diabetes, if you have type 2 diabetes and you have a twin, your twin has a 99% chance of developing type 2
True.
diabetes. That's genetics.
True. Now you're asking the right question. Part of the reason we went to the United Nations. If you banalize diabetes, people talk about diabetes, people come out. So you started hearing some people saying, like a president of a country saying, I have diabetes. I'm with some authorities in this Gulf area who have told me they have diabetes. I suspected because of the programs that they're putting in place for diabetes. So I asked, he said, oh yes, I go to take care of my diabetes. I went to one Gulf area and they told me I go to France, to England to take care of my diabetes. And I said, oh, Sheikh, you don't have people in this country, doctors? He said, no. I said, oh, you are fortunate. Oh, you've been blessed. Allah has blessed you. God has blessed you. But what of the 99% of your population who cannot go to England? You know what has happened? He has built a super modern diabetes center because he called his people and said, you were right. I would give them the same facilities and the same things so that they live longer. So we're getting there. We're getting ministers, prime minister wearing t-shirts on diabetes. You saw, you were in New York with me, the South African First Lady, coming. And first, you know when I first met with her? In a meeting in Joburg, changing diabetes. We spoke. She was dealing with breast cancer. When she spoke with me, she started a diabetes foundation in South Africa. And now she's changed everything into diabetes. We've given her t-shirts. So we are getting there. And I'm sure we'll get there. But we need to be able to encourage people. And we know of very good people, like former Miss United States.
Nicole Johnson.
Nicole Johnson, she declared. There are so many football players, Huckleberry, the film star, the lady, they declared that they have diabetes. So we have people who declare that they have diabetes. But if you think in terms of 366 million people, with many celebrities who have diabetes, more people should be coming out to say they have diabetes.
A very quick question. These 360 million people with diabetes.
66.
66. 366
I want the
million.
statistics quoted clearly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not a mathematician, but 36 IDF staff members, that's about 10 million. For every 10 million people with diabetes, you have one staff member. What is the organization doing to grow? How do we make the IDF a bigger, more effective organization to really handle just the size of the problem we're faced with?
Is it the number of people? No. Are you not working for IDF?
I am an unpaid employee.
Exactly. I am an unpaid president.
That's a different issue.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that you might have 36 staff, but there are millions of volunteers around the world. Let's not forget the power of the volunteers. You and me, we are volunteers for IDF. That is what makes us a family. When you think that these 36 people are working almost 22 hours a day is because of a salary? No, it's a passion. It's a passion. It goes with the job. I've traveled all over the world in the past 17 years. I've been on the IDF board for 17 years, exactly for 17 years of my life. But I just enjoy it. Because sometimes you see it in Cameroon, especially when I was chairing the insulin task force. There was a war in Rwanda and Goma, earthquake in Goma. All the diabetic patients had no supply. There was flooding in the United States of America, Louisiana. You know what happened? Overnight, 6 hours. We had put a program in place how to react to emergency. We knew that it was the Red Cross and the Médecins Sans Frontières to carry them. The following day, on TV, I saw the van of the Red Cross moving into Louisiana, and they said there was insulin in it. I saw Médecins Sans Frontières flying and dropping insulin in Goma. How did I feel? You don't know the people there you are seeing. But just because of lack of 3 hours of sleep, I got insulin into those places. I die, if I die today, I will die happy, man. Because I've been able to save lives. And that's what matters. It's not what they pay you. It's not what you gain. It's what you make with what you have. And when you have an opportunity to serve, you serve with all your heart. Because tomorrow it might be your turn.
What do you do to pick yourself up when you are down? I mean, you strike me as an incredibly optimistic and upbeat person, but you must have times when you feel down. What do you do to...
I think positive always. I turn weaknesses into opportunities. That's it. If I want to go through that door, and the door is locked, but I know that there's something really important the other side of the door. You know what I do? I take the hard way. I meander through, cut the way through the door, through the wall, find myself the other way, and I look back and say, oh my God, what was that? Disturbing me from progressing. So I turn weaknesses into opportunities. And if you start thinking positive, you don't get yourself let down. You know that by organizing a congress in Dubai, was it for money? No. 6 out of 10 countries in the world with the highest prevalence of diabetes is in the Gulf district area. Is it politics? No. We brought IDF here, the Congress, to increase diabetes awareness. How many times have you seen 4 sheikhs coming to visit stands, coming to get information? That is what we wanted. Awaken the people. I've been to the Gulf for the past 2 years, 6 times. And I'm sure you must have noticed, plus 2,500 participants from the Gulf countries and MENA region. Thank God for that.
That's awesome.
Except yesterday we hit 15,117 people registered for the Congress last night.
I think I saw a couple of people sneak in too.
Yeah, exactly. so frankly, in life, you have things you do, and I will tell you something about myself. It's now that you brought it up. I'm a professor in the university. I have a research group of 34 people. I'm a husband. I'm a father to 4 children. But I have a balanced portfolio. I balance what I do for a living to get a salary and what I do for charity. And I say, putting back in the community what the community has given me. How many people are like us in the world who have had the opportunity, blessed to be able to reach somewhere and make a difference? There are so many people who want to make a difference, but they don't even have the opportunity.
Yeah.
We have the opportunity to make a difference. And that is life. Because tomorrow, is it the amount of money that you accumulated? It is what you did with it, how you shared your time, how you touched people's lives. You were surprised maybe to hear that I'm a prince. I am. My father was king. Yeah, but I've learned to serve. And maybe that's why you know some of the diplomacy. And on top of that, I'm a devout Christian. In the sense that I make sure that there is equity, there is love. Because love your neighbor as you love yourself. How can you love your neighbor when you don't love yourself? You can only ooze the love for your neighbor that you have for yourself. And that's life. And frankly, I don't look behind. I might have obstacles. I fix my eyes on the goal. And I try to arrive at the top.
As you approach the end of your term as a president, which I am going to speak for the both of us, I think makes us all very sad because you have been one inspiring leader in front of the organization. I know you don't look back, But would you say there is some obstacle you didn't have time to get to, considering that, you know, things take time to accomplish, obviously? You know, would you say there's any obstacle you did not have time to get to that you wish you had?
No, and I'll tell you why not. A plan is a dynamic plan. It's never fixed in stone. When we were calling for the UN high-level summit, we thought it was going to take years to accomplish. It took us 11 months. So we had to change things. That's the plan. Make it dynamic and move forward. Now, my plan was that I would develop the regions very well, restructure them well, and use that to develop member associations so that we have a base which is strong, which we can anchor on. When their foundation is weak, then you're weak. You might be strong here, but the foundation is built on sand, it can collapse at every time. Next year, my last year, would be regional development and member association development. Very opportune time. We never question God's will. 2 years ago, I had no money because I had to invest in external relations and, you know, revenue generation. At this meeting, even before we came there, we approved the 2012 budget. We have a budget surplus. We are going to make profit from the Congress, so it will be more. Which means I have an opportunity to be able to put in place what I wanted to do, and the next president will just continue. And the idea will continue. That's why we had the idea of president-elect. The same emotion, the same drive that drives me, people would find something good in the next president. We might, not two people are the same, but people will find something good in the next president. And let me tell you something. I'm in this for a long haul. I'm not living diabetes.
Good.
Yeah,
Can't afford to lose
I'm
that.
not living diabetes. I might not be the president of the International Diabetes Federation, but I'm still a true advocate for diabetes.
So you cannot tell us, you know, what you're going to be doing next, or then?
No, but I just told you that I'm professor at the university.
Yeah, so you're going back to academia?
Oh, well, I've been doing it. Do you know that I have a paid job and a unpaid job?
How does that work? I mean, like...
Let me tell you something. Organization. If you met my colleagues and the people I work with, they'll say, we have never seen such a thing. He consults, he reviews students. Last year, I supervised 7 PhD theses, 4 Doctor of Medicine theses, and 4 PhD theses. You know how I did it? They send me that these things on the machine, this thing is finished. I read it. Then between Dubai and Cameroon, if I'm passing through Paris, I spend 24 to 36 hours in a hotel, airport hotel. I sit down there, I correct all the theses. One of my students said this, my God, how come he has read through from page to page? I can show you the mail. You're so busy, but how can you read from page to page? I take everything I do seriously. And for the past 5 years, my students at the level of the faculty have supervised almost the best students every year. My students are almost the best every year. It's just organization. I tell you a little story. I was in Roma for a meeting. A patient came to my clinic in Yaoundé. And he said, oh, I wanted to see the professor. They said, no, the professor knows you are coming. At 10:30, he's going to consult you. But he's in Rome. He said, yes. At 10:30, he will consult you. That was a tea break. So I went on the computer and I Skyped with the patient in my service. So I was consulting with her. I came and said, I've never seen such a thing. They told me at 10:30 you'll be consulting me, and at 10:30 there you were, and you were consulting. That is it. It's just organization. I think all of us have those capabilities. We just have to nurture it for the good of humanity.
If you could take a moment and put yourself in our shoes, What would you do to help ensure that we have you have a seat at the table, you being us, have a seat at the table in these decisions that are happening in government? The people actually wield large amount of money and control over national health policy, where so much of the impact of diabetes is actually made at scale. You know, what do we do? What should we do?
Mobilization, people's power. It's people's power. That's the thing we have at our disposal. Imagine how many people do you influence, David?
A couple million a year.
Exactly. Imagine those, because of what you are doing, those couple of million people in a year.
Can you please ask questions? We have one more interview to go on.
Okay, don't you worry, I'm into it. You have a couple of million people in a year. You write influential articles. You move them into a people's movement. Politicians would not listen to them. Oh my God. By the time you are even there going, the politicians are following. That's what they want. They want to be able to identify with what is successful. And what is successful when you talk about people's health? When you bring out the story, oh, children are dying because they lack insulin, and you get a people's movement that we want insulin, not war. You know what? The politicians will want to go to war, but they'll first give that insulin so that you will not use the insulin to prevent them from going to war. So that was your bargaining chip. I know that it's cheaper to supply insulin to the children than to go to war. So we want insulin, not war. Then you see that they say, oh, this program for insulin is running now, this. So when you are going to war now, you will not blame them. So you have people's power.
This was something I wanted to ask you back at the session. I sensed a healthy level of skepticism in Sir George's comments, based on experience, you know, and probably frustration from not having seen certain goals realized. What do you think is different between the time where past commitments, past goals were set and not met, and this time? You know, what makes you feel particularly optimistic about our prospects these days versus a past time when it was not doable?
I think you misinterpreted George Alberti.
I'm sorry?
You misinterpreted George Alberti. I saw reality in George Alberti, and I saw dumping of expectations in George Alberti, but I didn't find anything negative.
No.
You understand?
Yeah.
He was realistic, and what people didn't realize is that we worked on these things together. Yeah. That's why he talked about barriers.
Yeah, yeah, I think I just sense that he was definitely realistic, but I did feel because he is clearly passionate about this.
Yes,
I could sense frustration in him not seeing those goals realized, which I can relate to.
When your minister goes to New York, head the session, talk and talk and talk. George Alberti heads our Diabetes UK. He's the chairman of Diabetes UK. So you see another hat with which he's wearing. Then his minister comes back, he calls him and said, okay, I want us to discuss what happened in New York, what are we going to do here? He calls, no answer. Then the secretary to the minister said, I'm not sure he's going to answer you. You know why he was not going to answer him? They're of different parties. You understand? There are other things which play. But what I always say is that why trade people's lives for nonsense? We are going to be successful with the UN Summit. I can assure you. You know why I know that? Because countries, we are almost here, countries who put things in place. Did I say we're going to be 100% successful? No.
I think I heard you say that, 100% successful.
No, 100% we are going to be successful. But it depends upon your objectives. If you have an expectation that is too big, then that's your problem. I believe in one step at a time. The governments have, I'll tell you a story. I went back to Cameroon from Britain. There was no national diabetes program. I developed the, he said it was not a reality. First 3 years, I produced the numbers, those at risk. They said, oh, that is porous. 2 years, 3 years later, I did a follow-up study that showed that 50% of those who had at risk of developing diabetes have developed diabetes. They say, oh, you were telling us 5 years ago we are refusing. So what can we do? I said, we developed a program. They said, we have no money. I wrote another project. I developed a national program from my project, then paid the government officers from all over the world to come and validate it. Then I gave the program to them. Cameroon has a fully functional on the budget of a national diabetes program. Cameroon has gone into issuing free insulins now and free meters to patients. 15 years ago, it was not there. You see why I'm optimistic? Yeah. I've not put a timeline. I said it, we are in need for a long haul. And that's where we are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.